And with free time, that's the end of our Watch It programmes for today, and indeed this week. They resume again on Monday with Aubrey at 4:15, followed at 4:20 by another fanfare for young musicians. This is the lineup for Monday, so remember to join us then. Well, well, well. As it's Friday, the 5th of November, I suppose this is the point of the proceedings where I certainly light the blue touch paper and retire. Well, until Monday. So in the meantime, have yourselves a great London weekend, and of course, behave yourselves.
Thank you very much. Good evening. Thank you. For the first time, I'm actually going to start with two firsts. I've never presented a Golden Egg Award at the beginning of the Late Late Breakfast Show, and for the first time, the millions out there know something that the people here don't know. We heard on the news a few moments ago that the Princess of Wales gave birth to a little baby boy just an hour or so ago. I'll tell you, this was made up very quickly indeed. I will have more Golden Egg Awards for you as the programme goes on. We've got a cowboy.
What about your children? What about your children?
I would like to see it decriminalised, because I don't think in the privacy of my own room I was doing anyone any harm whatsoever.
With his international lifestyle, his latest conviction could create problems in travelling overseas.
Do you think it's going to give you a problem getting back into the United States?
Well, I hope not. I jolly well hope not.
Somebody shot you? Who shot you?
I've no idea, gentlemen. I've no idea.
Do you have trouble
We'll have to cut that from the news.
Here?
Was it good stuff? Oh, no, get out of it, you. Hey, can we get one thing straight? That whatever you think and whatever you think I've done, this, I'm telling you, this substance, cannabis, is a whole lot less harmful than rum punch, whiskey, nicotine, and glue, all of which are perfectly legal.
As he left the court, McCartney, who'd been given 2 weeks to pay the fine, said the judge is a great guy.
The charge yesterday, I was just caught with a small quantity of cannabis, for which I was fined $200 Barbados. I don't hold any grudges. It didn't really spoil my holiday.
Women and young girls waved and shouted to him.
Well, I'm glad to have got off like this, you know. I'm glad it wasn't jail.
Did you think at one point it might have been?
I thought it might be, you know, but I would have been okay as long as I could take my guitar in with me, you know, write a few new songs and stuff, but...
Linda McCartney, the wife of pop singer Paul McCartney, was arrested at Heathrow Airport this afternoon and charged with possessing cannabis. She'll appear in court later this month. Paul McCartney and his family had arrived back from Barbados, where he'd been fined £70 for possessing a small amount of cannabis. The millionaire singer, whose record Pipes of Peace today is still top of the pops, told reporters he thought cannabis was less harmful than nicotine and alcohol.
The judge, Sheriff D.J. McDermott, had been told that McCartney had a considerable interest in horticulture and that many of his fans sent him things to grow. The cannabis seeds, it was said, had been received in such a way, and he'd planted them in pots and grown them in the greenhouse at his farm, Hyde Park, about 4 miles from here. The plants, still in pots, were produced in court today. They were found by a local policeman who'd gone to check the empty McCartney farm buildings. He looked in the greenhouse where tomatoes and cannabis were growing and thought he recognised the cannabis. McCartney's counsel admitted he had knowingly grown the plants but had not known what they were.
I don't believe it's a terribly harmful thing to do, but I don't actually, if left to my own devices, I will prefer not say anything about it.
Did you think they'd send you for drugs?
Are you?
I don't take drugs. I never have taken drugs. Are you going to?
No.
Were you worried about being
Never
sent?
again.
Were you worried about being sent to jail?
Yes, I know.
Then why did you do it?
Do you mean it this time?
Pardon?
Do you mean it this time?
Probably not.
It was said in court that you had considerable interest in horticulture. Now, this might surprise some of your fans. When did this start?
A couple of years ago, you know.
And where have you been doing your gardening, etc.?
At the farm, you know, yeah. My dad's a keen gardener, you know. I think it's rubbed off.
It was said that those seeds had been sent to you. How did you come to grow them?
Yeah, well, we got a load of seeds, you know, kind of in the post. and we didn't know what they were, you know. We kind of planted them all, and 5 of them came up illegal.
Hello. I'm on the planet of Chloris, and I've been captured by some bandits, and they think they've got the upper hand. But never mind. That's another story. Now, a little while ago, I happened to be on Earth, and I was having a discussion with a friend of mine who said that on Earth, you have some ferocious animals, and he started to get a little bit competitive about certain animals and creatures you've got on Earth that are either deadly or large. And naturally, he quoted the elephant, which he said was the largest, and he quoted among the deadly ones the puff adder. And of course, well, I mean, I didn't want to put him down, but I just had to talk about some of the things I've bumped into on my travels. I mean, I remember the Rebus operation. Do you remember the Shrivenzahl? The Shrivenzahl wasn't all that big, really. I think smaller than an elephant, but it was extremely voracious in its appetite. It was a carnivore. That means it eats meat. And I'll tell you how fierce it was. 6 buffaloes a day it used to eat, and 2 wheelbarrow loads of coconuts, unbroken. When it wanted to break the coconuts, if it did, it had very short arms, but it used to put the coconut in its arm like that and crack it like that. And that's the Shrivenzahl. Then there's the crinoid. Do you remember the crinoid? Tall as a Douglas fir and 3 times its circumference. That creature, the crinoid, had a plan to recruit all the plant life on Earth and turn it against humanity. It had this idea that it could turn all the daffodils and hyacinths and elderberry bushes and blackberry bushes and things like that and rose trees into deadly enemies of man. Now that was a creature. It was quite difficult to beat that one. Somehow I managed it with a bit of help. Then, of course, there was the Wirren. The Wirren in the story of the Ark in Space, do you remember that one? The Wirren was a gigantic insect with a sting so fierce it could have done an elephant in 5 seconds. And that's only 3. Then there was the Fendal. Do you remember the Fendal? This Fendal was so deadly, when it used to pass anybody, it would just walk past someone and just go and suck the life right out of them. That was a difficult one, too. But somehow we managed it. What did you say? You don't believe it? Well, you look out the next time I'm on. Bye-bye.
Bunker at High Wycombe. The Trust is accused of violating its original charter. And a study of London's pond life claims that Croydon has the worst conservation record of any London borough. More on those stories and the rest of the news at 6. Join me then.
Just started on Channel 4, The Tube, and it's the opening night of this new live rock show. Here on ITV Comedy with That's My Boy.
That's my boy, that's my boy.
Well, don't look at me, Neil. Vivian had the bath before me, and Mike had it before him. And anyway, Neil, the whole thing's left over from the bath you had last Tuesday. So stop being so bloody picky. That's your filth.
I hate bath night. Oh, well, here goes.
Well, immensely popular, but not with everybody. Do you get lots of objectionable letters saying that is scandalous, disgusting and all that? Have you had a lot of that?
I think the BBC get quite a few.
Yeah, they tend to get sent to the BBC, and the BBC send us the nice ones, really. So all the reaction we get is very good.
There are a few on the TV Times cover provoked extraordinary reaction in the Radio Times. Many apologies there, but they had a number of letters saying it was scandalous to have.
We don't want pictures of these kind of people in our home.
This is, real.
Fair enough.
But, I mean, as life goes on, I mean, every new kind of thing does that, doesn't it? I mean, I remember going back to That Was the Week That Was, which now sounds immensely harmless and insipid, was sensational at the time.
Yes,
the fact that it was aggressive and people were interviewed in a hard way. And,
well, it was live as well.
Yes, and there was great lampooning.
I don't think we were all that aggressive. We were there was a lot of slapstick, and it was a bit lively. It was a noisy programme.
Yeah.
It wasn't unpleasant.
Now, the three of you, I mean, you play parts, you're the major star, of course. I mean, you play little parts, Ben. Lisa doesn't. You all write it together. Now, can you give me some idea of a typical writing session? I mean, how do you go about creating?
Not on television.
Well, there aren't really any typical sessions. We all tend to write separately, and then we'll meet up and mix it all
We have
together.
ideas meetings where we all go and get very drunk and think of ideas, and then go away and sit inside when it's nice and sunny outside and churn it out.
Yeah.
And then we argue a lot about what goes on. What doesn't.
If I ever write anything when I'm slightly intoxicated, it's always rubbish when I've sobered up. Don't you find that?
Well, look at the young ones.
But that is so. But I mean, are they noisy sessions? Because people are always fascinated as how, you know, Muir and Norden wrote and all the great comedy.
No, they tend to be quiet and quite vicious. I mean, if you've got 3 people who want to get one particular lines or one of 2 lines through, then you've got to gang up against one of the others, so it can get very...
We all have techniques for getting the things we want.
Like what? I mean, if he suggests a line, what do you do?
I'm just very stubborn, so I argue till everyone else gives up.
What, you say it's not funny, we're not using it, doesn't
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah. And I'll say, what do you know?
Yeah, and it sort of gets down to sort of, well, I got a 1 in my English O-level and you only got a 2, so shut up. It's all that kind of thing.
So I take Ben
Very
out for a drink and then we take a vote on it.
I see. Do you
and meanwhile, I've typed it out differently.
Do you, Lisa, contribute anything different to this thing? I mean, do you all have particular areas in which you kind of contribute ideas? Do you find your mind working in certain areas?
Well, I mean, I suppose our minds all do work differently, but because we're writing for characters, we can all... it's really the characters speaking, and you just have to write like they write.
Presumably, since you play Rik, you have strong ideas of what you should say and do, have you?
Yes, yes, which I try to get a casting vote on. But by the time we finished writing, all 3 of us have rewritten every line anyway.
I mean, I wouldn't have thought that really there's the Rik puts much more into the character of Rik at script stage than either Lisa or I do. I mean, obviously, once the performance starts, I mean, it's 100% him.
Yeah.
But I would have thought the script, in terms of like the new developments of the character, this series, that we were concentrating more hard on his sort of, you know, I'm going to live till I die on the edge of oblivion side, his sort of massive romanticism of his sort of little world of being a poet. I mean,
Lisa, do you admire Carla Lane's writing, for example, as a
yes,
woman comedy writer?
I mean, I remember growing up with the live of
Yeah.
it. Really
But Butterflies has a couple of lad characters in that, which are sort of slightly anarchic. Not as outrageous as yours, but I mean, that's halfway towards your kind
They
of
tend to
comedy.
roller skate in, don't they?
Yeah.
Butterflies. Sort of, oh my God, they're roller skating in. I mean, it's strange that.
Time is like a dream, and now for a time you are mine. Let's hold fast to the dream that tastes and sparkles like wine. Who knows if it's real or just something we're both dreaming of? What seems like an interlude now could be the beginning of love. Loving you is a world that's strange, so much more than a heart can hold. Loving you makes my whole life change. Loving you, I could not grow. No, nobody knows when love will end. So till then, sweet friend, time is like a dream. And now for a time you are mine. Let's hold fast to the dream that tastes and sparkles like wine. Who knows if it's real or just something we're both dreaming of. What seems like an interlude now could be the beginning of love.
Paul Nicholas is now appearing in Charlie Girl at the Opera House, Manchester.